your Josh Price, man, and today we're gonna talk about. Even though this mic don't actually work, I just feel comfortable doing like this right here. But even though it's not connected to the mic, but I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to talk about Money in the Bank, and specifically, I wanted to talk about the outcome and just how everybody felt about how the briefcase for the men was used and whether that should have been the case or whether that should have been or not, or like, it was a waste of the briefcase and arguments like that. And then some people say it wasn't, but we're going to say this. I'm going to say this. In my personal perspective, how I saw it, I feel like it actually did ruin a bit of the reputation of the Money in the Bank. And I'm coming all off the top of this. I ain't got nothing prepared. I truly think that I feel like a lot of people are saying, they're making some logical points, like how Gunther is pretty much almost 100% is winning at SummerSlam. And even though Gunther versus Damian Priest isn't even a SummerSlam match, if you think about it, Seth versus Gunther, if you just want to look at people they've built up in terms of booking and overall name value, those two names generate way more buzz, way more of a attention-drawing match than Priest versus Gunther. Obviously, if you've seen my previous video, I was saying that, these are two, there would be a clear top babyface and clear top heel for the championship, but they decided not to do that, and they're going to have two heels, Damian Priest and Gunther. Now, just some quick notes. The men's Money in the Bank, just to get this out of the way, the men's Money in the Bank ladder match I thought was good. I gave it an 8.5. They nailed it. There was pretty much little to absolutely no botches. And I got that one wrong, man. Drew McIntyre ended up winning it. I thought it was going to be Jey Uso. I thought they were going to go along the wave that he was riding. And one could say, Jey Uso should have won it because also it's like, he's been going on this great singles run as far as like how the crowd's been receiving him. So you're thinking there's got to be some type of reward he's getting for this. Like, for example, LA Knight is over. Unfortunately, with LA Knight, he probably should have been crowned the champ earlier, as terms of he's most likely going to win the U.S. title from Logan Paul. Even though I feel like he should have won the U.S. title last year's SummerSlam when Austin Theory had the title, I thought that was the perfect time to do LA Knight versus Austin Theory at SummerSlam, but they decided not to do that, which sucks because that was when LA Knight was like his hottest. So even though he's still hot, you can tell there's a little bit of a difference in the pop. And it's like that with everybody, by the way. I'm not saying that, because for example, Stone Cold Steve Austin now would get a much louder pop than if this were the days where you saw him every week. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to get a pop out of the way, but obviously a return pop is going to be bigger than when they see you every single week. So with LA Knight, he would easily get his big time, like, he still gets pops, but he would still get those next level pops if he decided to like take some time off and came back. Like, it happens with every wrestler where like your reaction is naturally gonna, even if you're one of the greatest of all time, your reaction is naturally gonna get smaller in terms of volume, is going to get a little smaller just because now they're used to seeing you all the time. So when you're the new entity that they haven't seen in a while, or they've never seen something like you before, you're going to get the biggest pops on the show for months. But then once you've been there for like months, multiple months to like a year, those pops are not, they're still going to be loud, but they're not going to be as loud as they were because now you're not considered like the new toy. Now you're considered the toy that we like, but we know we've been around you for a while now. But LA Knight, Jey Uso, Drew McIntyre, just some top favorites in this match. And they ended up going with Drew, man. The only person in that match, if I'm not mistaken, that was a former world champion. I think, what, 3-time world champion, right? 2-time WWE, 1-time world champion. So, yeah, he was the guy that won the match. And a lot of people like me thought it was going to be CM Punk screwing him in the ladder match, and that's not what happened. But quick note, what a big spot from the women's Money in the Bank where Chelsea Green went through the table. There was a Michinoku driver from Io to Zoe. Zoe, shout out to her, she toughened it out when she freaking landed on her the back of her head when she tried to do the jump over the rope spot that she does with her opponent laying on there. She did the thing where she jumped over the rope and then like kind of slides down to the second one and falls on him, but it didn't work because she pulled her too close. I think she thought she was going to be, I don't know why she pulled her so close, because I'm like, it just didn't look like she would reasonably be able to even hit her with that move, considering how close she pulled her to the rope. So that was crazy. But even though there was a good bit of botches in that match, I felt like they did so many other big spots that went well that it kind of made up for it. But I'm not going to go by detail. You probably seen it by now. I don't think it's going to add much if I go down exactly what happened throughout the whole match. I don't think that's going to help anybody. But Bron Breakker versus Sami Zayn, I missed like the first maybe minute of, because I was getting back home and my phone had died on the way there. So, because I had traveled pretty far from my house. So by the time I missed like the first minute of that match, but then I was able to see the rest of it. From what I was seeing, good match. There I gave the women's Money in the Bank, I gave like an 8, because even though there were botches, the big spots made up for it, especially Chelsea Green's table bump made up for it. And I was right with that one. Tiffany Stratton did win as Miss Money in the Bank. Should be interesting to see what happens with her. And then Bryan and Sami, I don't really know what to give that, because I kind of missed like the first minute, but I saw pretty much a lot of it. I only missed like the first like minute or maybe 2 of it. So from what I've seen, probably give that a solid 8 as well, you know. Solid matchup. And then the Bloodline stuff for the main event, they had Solo pin the WWE champion, man. Now, granted, yes, he did get hit with a couple of moves before that. You know, before he got pinned, you know, Jacob Fatu, who's an absolute beast, not only because he looks like it and goes like that when he's, you know, beating people up, but I mean, the athleticism the guy has. I mean, did a whole Jeff Hardy whisper in the wind off the top rope, where it's pretty much a twisting senton or twisting front flip into your opponent off the top rope, and landed right on Cody. And then Solo spike for the W. So pin Cody, and it seems like that's going to be a SummerSlam match. We could have a whole nother conversation on whether or not we think that should be at SummerSlam. I'm personally one of those people who think it should be if you're going SummerSlam, we need big matches to really sell this thing. So him versus Randy or him versus The Rock, I thought I would have seen. And The Rock would make the most sense for SummerSlam because of the direct tie-in with the Bloodline. Because if he were to face Randy Orton at SummerSlam, the only issue with that is you would have to logically explain why the Bloodline is just gonna let Randy be the only one that feuds with him while they just sit back. You know, you would have to logically explain that, but they couldn't. But with The Rock, he has the direct tie-in to the Bloodline, so that's how that would have made sense. But anyway, because they would obviously back off of The Rock, because, you know, he's The Rock, and also that, like I said, direct Bloodline tie-in. But anything else that happened as far as matches, I had both Money in the Banks covered, IC title, yep. And then, so I was right by the Bloodline winning. I was right on that one. I was right with Sami Zayn retaining. Don't really know when he's going to lose it, but Bron Breakker could have no doubt believably taken the title, but I don't really know when Sami's going to lose that one. But I was right on that one. Sami retaining, Bloodline winning, and Tiffany being Miss Money in the Bank. But I was wrong on Seth being the new world champion, and I was wrong on Jey Uso being Mr. Money in the Bank. But let's talk about the real thing right now. So the match was pretty solid before the mishaps and mistakes happened. The match was going pretty well. It was going pretty well. Rollins it was like he was doing all of his stuff that he would usually do, you know, well, and he looked good in there, but was doing it at a slower pace to me. Or like it just kind of looked like he was doing it a lot slower, but still hitting all the marks and not, you know. But and even then, there was like 1 or 2 botches in that match as well. But theirs didn't look like so awful. Those were like the women's and the Money in the Bank. Those ones was like, ooh, that's rough. But with the men's and Seth versus Damian, those were ones you were easily able. They were easier, I should say that, easier to recover from. But match was going pretty solid. Then there was a superplex Falcon Arrow off the top rope. Well, off the top rope superplex into a Falcon Arrow by Seth. And some people are speculating that maybe Damian Priest, and if you didn't know, what happened was it was a superplex Falcon Arrow, and then it was a pinfall, 1, 2, 3. The ref didn't count 3, even though Damian wasn't even close and didn't move his shoulders an inch off the mat for the kick out. He didn't move at all. And it wasn't even like a delay where like Damian Priest thought he was at, 1 and he was at 2, so he kicked out late. He didn't even kick out late. He just didn't move the whole time for the count, and even after the count, still wasn't moving. He didn't move until I think Rollins kind of had to like push him over. So some people are speculating that maybe he had gotten knocked out with the Falcon Arrow, maybe like the back of his head or something. Maybe I've gotten rocked on the canvas, or in some type of move exchange that they did, he might have got rocked somehow, because he did not move at all. And then some people were saying that this was a weird one. Some people were saying that maybe Drew McIntyre, because he ended up coming out there, his music played like right after the botched pinfall. So some people are saying maybe they mistimed it to where the referee was supposed to stop the count and get distracted by Drew's music. But that wouldn't make any sense, because why would the ref just stop doing his job just because somebody's music played? Unless the ref is getting attacked, he should not be stopping the count. Unless he's physically getting stopped and counting the 1, 2, 3, that wouldn't make any sense. But anyway, Drew comes out there. Couple moves were hit. I think he hit like a future shock on Seth, and he eventually hit a Claymore on Damian. And then I think right as I don't think he was about to hit anyone else with anything. I think he just hit a Claymore on Damian, and then Punk came out there from under the ring, which I found out from some internet clips. He actually came out from underneath the ring, attacked Drew, threw him onto the outside, attacked him a couple of times with a steel chair, had a cord wrapped around his neck, and yeah, beat him up, you know what I mean? Then hit him with the title across the face, and Seth was out, and Damian Priest once again ended freaking Drew McIntyre the same way he ended him in Scotland, with Drew McIntyre screwing him over, getting screwed over by Punk, and with the South of Heaven chokeslam 1, 2, 3, Damian Priest retains the title. Seth Rollins was visibly upset with Punk, even arguing and kind of charging at him a little bit. So they still are letting you know, hey, that story is still in the works, because if you guys have seen the WrestleMania 40 documentary, Triple H admitted that that was going to be the direction for WrestleMania 40, was for the World Heavyweight title, Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. But CM Punk and Seth, or CM, let me just get into this now. CM Punk and Seth obviously is going to be great when it happens, but right now, CM Punk and Drew McIntyre have been great. They've been telling the story of, believably too, in a sense that, because of the way that Drew has approached Punk and the way Punk has approached Drew and screwing him over, it makes sense as to why Punk would want to screw him over, and it makes sense to why Drew would be as furious as he is, constantly trying to get this moment with the world title and literally essentially chasing after this moment to be the world champion, just to keep losing because the same person keeps getting involved in his business. Now, I'm just going to give him, this is the last thing I'm going to say. From my point of view, I'm on team it wasted Money in the Bank, because I feel like you kind of pick a side on what you want to be. I don't think anybody's wrong, but we can all have our creative differences. But I'm on team it was a waste of Money in the Bank for 3 reasons. Number 1, it kills and further deteriorates the concept of being the Money in the Bank briefcase holder. Because if you guys remember, Damian Priest cashed in at WrestleMania 40, and it was good, right? It was a smart way, creative way, good cash in at WrestleMania. He got his moment as the world champion. That was great. So you're thinking that they're about to start restoring the power of Money in the Bank, because Austin Theory failed, cashed in on the US Open Challenge the year before that. Big E, it was cool, but it wasn't one of those cash in. It was like a cash in on a Monday Night Raw, but it wasn't nothing that you were just like, man, what a cash in. It wasn't that like nothing where you were like, holy, but it was cool to see the moment of him being WWE champion. And then 2020, remember, that was when Miz had won it from Otis, who had actually won the briefcase. And now it's just, you didn't care. Brock won it in 2019. Who cares? It's Brock, so why the heck does he even have a briefcase? 2018, it was Braun Strowman, and he failed because the match, that was a Hell in a Cell. Brock interrupted, broke the cage down, and the match just ended on no contest. A Hell in a Cell match ended on a no contest because Brock got involved in the match Strowman had with Roman, where he challenged him at the pay-per-view for his briefcase, or cashed in his briefcase at a pay-per-view he announced beforehand, rather than interrupting Roman, who was the champ at the time, Universal champ, funny enough, at the time, to get the belt. And then 2017, we obviously know Corbin failed. So, I mean, that is going from 22 and back. That is 22, 21, 20, 19, 18. That is 17. That is 6 years straight of Money in the Bank not having any type of real meaning and relevance. And that's why I say in 2023, where Damian Priest won it, you thought they were, he cashing in at WrestleMania was perfect. And you're thinking that they're starting to restore the balance that the Money in the Bank briefcase had lost, and gave it some more meaning and made the cash-ins more memorable. Like, that was what was really helping the cash-ins, is that they were memorable. It was a great moment, whether for the heel or the face. It was a great moment that made sense. And yeah, to me, the reason why this was like a waste of Money Bank is because it ruined what they were essentially trying to restore, in the sense of trying to make the Money in the Bank prestigious again. Like, people are actually smart enough to cash this briefcase in successfully. I mean, if you guys have noticed, every female, and they started, the women's Money Bank, I think, started in 2018. If y'all notice, every female has cashed in their Money in the Bank successfully. And Tiffany Stratton, if she cashes in hers successfully, she'll be the 8th woman out of 8 women's Money in the Bank matches there have been, or winners that they have been. She'll have been another one to cash in successfully. So how is the women cashing it in 100%? They're smart enough to do this, but the men aren't, or they're getting screwed, or they're getting things messed up. So here's the thing. People say, well, it fits the CM Punk Drew McIntyre story because the whole story is he keeps screwing him out of world title matches specifically. So some people say, well, if he would have just screwed him out of the briefcase, that's not the same thing as screwing him out of a title match, because he screwed him out of a title match with Damian Priest the first time at WrestleMania, where he got cashed in on, and then he screwed him in the actual title match against Damian at Clash at the Castle, and then he screwed him this time in the triple threat match with him and Priest and Seth. And I get it, but here's the thing. If the storyline's already hot, you don't have to keep doing the Drew McIntyre screws him. It worked in Scotland because this is his hometown. Worked at WrestleMania because it was something to really kick off that feud, but it really didn't need it this third time to me, as far as, or if you were going to do it, have them do it in the ladder match. Because that way, instead of making Drew lose another world title match, instead of that, pushing him off the ladder was better, because that way you save Drew, right? Drew can say, I didn't lose the Money in the Bank match because of any of my own power. CM Punk got involved and cost me the briefcase. But with this triple threat match, it's like, okay, CM Punk got involved in my world title match rather than CM Punk stopped me from winning the briefcase. Because if somebody stops you from winning the Money in the Bank briefcase, that is better for Drew's character as far as keeping it strong. It's better if you just have him lose the briefcase, because guess what? In a match for the briefcase, there's 5 other men he's competing against, and you made that 6 other men that Drew is competing against now that Punk got involved. So he could easily say the odds were not in my favor from the start, and just to add more fuel to the fire, just to add more insult to injury, Punk got in there, and he's not even a part of the ladder match, and he cost me. So that would have made Drew look way stronger than saying, oh, I lost another world title match because this same guy got involved in my business. And number 2, why I'm on team it was a waste of Money in the Bank, leads me right into that, is because with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, it makes Drew McIntyre look stupid. Because if he has just screwed you out of WrestleMania, then screwed you in your hometown, and then you said, hey, I'm going to cash in on the same night that if I win the briefcase, what would make you think that Punk wasn't going to screw you again? Why did Drew not have any type of backup plan or have some type of partnership with somebody that, hey, man, like work out a deal with somebody that Drew could manipulate so that they can stop Punk from interrupting the match? If he was going to win the briefcase, why didn't Drew think this out? Why didn't he think this through, that, hey, let me work with another wrestler, maybe work with a Braun Breaker. I'm just throwing random ideas. Work with a Braun Breaker, who's an upcoming heel that wants to establish himself, and Punk or Drew could sway him into going, hey, man, if you help me with Punk, you get him off my back temporarily. And guess what? Think about this. You take out a name like Punk, that's going to really put you on notice. Might even be more than competing for the Intercontinental Championship. Imagine you spear Punk. Imagine you take out Punk, man. That's going to be establishing you. Like, I'm just throwing out ideas how you could have made Drew look a lot smarter if he would have partnered up with somebody and been like, hey, take care of this Punk situation, and it's a win-win. You temporarily get him involved out of my business, and you taking out CM Punk is going to make you look like a much bigger deal, or even more of a big deal, right after you just got done with an Intercontinental Championship match. So just something that Drew should have been thinking about. Like, I don't like how they're making, screwing him twice was fine, but this third time to me is like, you gotta start. I get it. Wrestling's creative, is pre-planned and all that, set up beforehand. It's a work, but you still have to keep logic in it, because that's how you follow along with things. Is when they're when things are logically explained, it makes the storyline better when you're logically explaining these things. So it's like, how can you explain how Drew did not expect this to happen a third time, especially since he announced said what that he was going to cash in on the same night? What made him think that CM Punk wasn't going to get involved again? So that's my reason number 2. It made Drew look stupid, because how does he not catch on this trend that Punk is going to keep interfering in his matches? How did he not try to play? Why was there no attempt for him to plan for this? To have a plan, a fail-safe, something to eliminate Punk from the situation of him getting involved in his business. At least temporarily, like I said, can brainwash or talk somebody into it. And I just gave you an example. And then reason number 3 of why I think it wasted Money in the Bank is, you have once again taken a completely different route rather than building or solidifying a new star. This could have made a Jey Uso, who even if you don't like his wrestling, or the fact that he always says yeet, it doesn't matter. One of the hottest wrestlers in your company who had the land of opportunities to further establish himself as a top guy. Because if you guys think about it, Jey Uso, what has he done since he separated from the Bloodline? He won tag team titles again, but except it was with Cody instead of Jimmy. That's all he's done. He's been hot on this singles run, one of the hottest stars in the company on this singles run, and he has not won Intercontinental title, World Heavyweight title, Money in the Bank briefcase. All of these things he's lost. And everyone's like, well, Jey Uso's going to be back involved in the Bloodline stuff to help out Roman. Okay, cool. But again, it's back to square one, right? He's going to go back with Jimmy. He's going to go back with Roman Reigns. If that was going to be the case, then at least have him have accomplished something in this singles run. Because imagine it's like, okay, Jey gets away from his family, go on to do things his own way, and doesn't win anything new. Doesn't win anything as a singles competitor. No briefcase, Intercontinental, United States title, World title. I'm just throwing titles now. WWE title. Has won no singles titles in this whole singles run where he's been like the hottest thing and getting one of the biggest reactions in WWE right now. As far as stars getting big reactions, he's got to be up in your top 5 of who's getting the biggest reactions in WWE on the active roster. So you ruined your opportunity to create a new star in Jey Uso in a LA Knight. I mean, who's to say LA Knight couldn't have been the briefcase holder and U.S. champ? You talk about wanting to build someone new, that would have been it. I mean, Rollins was a double champ, WWE champion, United States title. Who's to say that LA Knight could have tried to do that, become both? So it's not like it was like, people make it seem like, oh, nope, that just can't happen. That's the thing. These wrestling fans have this thing where they have to have a thing one way. What if you made LA Knight U.S. champ and WWE champ, or U.S. champ and World Heavyweight champion? Nope, that can't happen. Gunther has to hold it for at least 2 years. Nope, Cody can't lose it, do it in a briefcase cash in. That's the thing. These fans have it set that everything has to happen one way. No one wants to get creative. Everything has to be, Gunther has to hold it for a really long time. Cody has to hold it at, past WrestleMania next year or whatever they're saying. Like, everybody's made it up in their mind that it can't be this one way. And I'm thinking, if we're going to have failed briefcase cash-ins just because fans don't think that Gunther or Cody should be losing anytime soon, then at that point, get rid of Money in the Bank. Get rid of the whole concept of Money in the Bank Because now we as fans, or not all of us, but there's fans out there that don't even want people to cash in just because they don't think that that person should lose that way. That's it. Like at that point, get real money in the bank. If you're going to have failed cash-ins, I get if you had maybe one or two, but there's been multiple failed cash-ins in WWE. I think Cena failed, Baron Corbin failed, Braun Strowman failed, technically Otis failed because he lost it. I feel like, Damian Sandow was it? Was he one that held it? I don't remember. What? Might have been Sandow. I think he failed. I think he won it. I'm trying to think. If I remember correctly, I think he won it and failed. Austin Theory failed, and now Drew McIntyre failed. Why is there one or two? Okay. But the fact that we have I think this is I'm just guessing. I think this is the 7th failed cash in for the men. And it's bro, how hard is it to cash in a briefcase for a title? How hard is that? You're taking advantage of a guy or guys that are beaten up. How do you mess that up? So my last thing I know I said that already, but the last thing I'm gonna say is this. Because there's people out there who well, because Gunther has to hold it for a while and Cody does too, there's no way you could have cashed it in. 2 ways you could have done this. Either you could have had Jey Uso win the briefcase, cash in on that same night, and pin Damian Priest to become the World Heavyweight Champion, go do Jey versus Gunther at SummerSlam, and then you could even, if you want to turn Rollins heel or make him tweener, you could have Rollins cost him that match. Even if he doesn't get physically involved, right? Him distracting Jey Uso could have cost Jey that match, and Gunther beats him. And now we've seen Jey and Gunther a couple of times, but again, at least there you have your hottest babyface on Raw outside of Punk, and you have your hottest heel on Raw in Gunther. And then you can hold it, he can hold it for however long. You could have either done that, or you could have done a thing where Jey Uso cashes in at SummerSlam, or, against Damian Priest and Gunther, have Gunther win it at the next PLE, and then you could build that story of, is Jey truly ready for a singles run? Because that briefcase, anyone could take advantage of a downed opponent in Superstar and win a title. But what happens when you going into that match 100% and both parties are expecting each other to wrestle each other? You could have told that story of, was Jey ready for a world title? Because that's what happened. Or you could have a situation where Gunther's first run as world champ, right? Because remember, unfortunately, due to leukemia, Roman Reigns' first Universal title run didn't get, and even if he didn't get leukemia, we wouldn't have got this Tribal Chief run with him as the Universal Champion. So it's this. Notice how Roman Reigns is top 5 longest reigning champions of world time. Roman Reigns is one of the longest reigning champions of all time. But he didn't become that on his first title reign. He didn't get a really long WWE title run when he first won the belt. Actually, when Roman Reigns initially won the belt, didn't he get cashed in on by Sheamus? Exactly. And I think that's how he lost either his first or second. That's how he lost it. So it's this thing where people fail to understand that. I get it. Gunther, you want to have the title for a long time, but that does not mean he has to do that on his first world title run. You could easily have Gunther lose it in a triple threat where he doesn't get pinned. Then he gets it back in Bash in Berlin, and then he can hold it for a year and a half, 2 years, whatever you want to do. Why does he have to do it on his first title run? That's what my thing is. The biggest problem with it is fans think that everything has to be this one way, but the whole point of professional wrestling is to get creative. and the fact that there's more than one right answer. Now, sometimes there's that answer where it's like, okay, this has to be done. Like Cody winning at WrestleMania 40, you knew he was going to look like an absolute goof and an idiot if he would have lost that. But you have some decisions where there pretty much is a right decision, and there's like kind of like no other way you can go about this. Daniel Bryan winning at WrestleMania 30, it's like no way. Some moments, yeah, you can't really go about it any other way because come on. But then in this situation, I just gave you multiple ways you could have had this briefcase be cashed in, and you can still get Gunther's long world title reign. And again, you don't have to do it on his first reign. Because if you don't have Gunther get pinned, and let's say he loses in a triple threat to like a LA Knight briefcase holder or Jey Uso, Mr. Money in the Bank briefcase holder, he could be like, okay, he didn't get pinned. And then, like I said, he could get it back like a month later. Now, some would say, well, then there would be a transitional champion. But you can kind of expect that from anyone who wins a world title by way of a briefcase. You can kind of expect a transitional title run because they're trying to get the belt on all these other guys. That's number one. And number two, if you cashed in your Money in the Bank and won the world title, but then the person you lose that world title to holds it for 2 years, you immediately make people not even think about the fact that, man, he low-key he hot potatoed that title. But hell, here's the thing. Hot potatoing a title is not bad as long as you're hot potatoing it to somebody who's going to bring the prestige back. Because if you cash it in on Damian Priest, Jey wins, then Jey loses like a month later or less than a month later to Gunther. Because like I said, you could do a thing where maybe because Seth got costed the match, he kind of retaliated by costing Jey his match with Gunther at SummerSlam, and that's why Gunther's now the world champion. That could have started a feud between Seth and Jey Uso. Because let's be honest, who is Seth going to be feuding with? He ain't going to be feuding with Punk. He ain't going to be feuding with Drew. He ain't going to be feuding with Judgment Day. Seen that already. And he actually can't even challenge for Damian Priest's world title anyway. So, I just gave you somebody that Seth can be feuding with. Or a way that you could have gave Seth another feud with somebody that we haven't seen a lot of matches with him with. In that case, it would be Jey Uso. So that's just me giving some ideas on what they could have done and ways you could have still kept the prestige of Money in the Bank and not just tossed it all away for a storyline that was already hot. And in a storyline where you CM Punk screwing Drew a third time in the actual match. Like, it'd be different if it was the ladder match, because then he has an out. He could say, man, I already had to face 5 of the men, but then a 6th one who wasn't even a part of it came in and screwed me over. That's different, because you already had multiple people against you anyway, and Punk was like the added cherry on top and was the unexpected, person to get himself involved in the ladder match. But if you're going to cash in for the world title, how would Drew at that point not be smart enough to know, I might need to get somebody to help me out with this Punk situation, at least temporarily? Anyway, that's one of my thoughts on it. Y'all let me know how y'all felt about it. But at the end of the day, what can I say? It is what it is. And what it's going to be is the Prodigy constantly giving you some content, giving you some intel, reactions, whatever it is that we're doing. We're going to do it the best we can and do it the best in this entire YouTube community. But until I see y'all again, I am DJ White. So without further ado, let's get it. Peace.